You can follow him on Twitter at RapSheet. He joins me now for a look at one of the more bizarre sagas. We've seen a lot of crazy holdouts and things, especially here in Philadelphia. Man, we went through the T.O. stuff, and but here's one where the guy signed a contract a month ago and now wants to get out of it. What is your read on the way Bradford so quickly and abruptly wanted to get out of that? Do you feel that he was misled or lied to, as his camp indicated?
Well, a couple things. First of all, it's worth noting that he didn't want to get out of the contract. He liked the $11 million signing bonus and the $22 million guaranteed and everything teams are on the hook for next year. He just wanted it to be for a different team. If he was willing to actually get out of that contract, my guess is he probably would have been traded by now. But he wanted the money.
That's fair. That's fair to clear up, by the way.
Everybody does.
Yeah.
Yeah, as of course everyone does. I mean, who wouldn't want $11 million? But, I don't know about him being misled. I highly, highly, highly doubt that Sam Bradford was told, you are the starter forever, and we're not going to acquire another quarterback. Absent that, then to me it's kind of like it's the NFL. Like, yes, it is hard to compete for your job. Nobody loves when you're the starter and they bring in a guy to compete with you, especially if that guy is younger and cheaper. But the problem is that is reality not just for the NFL, but life. It happens to everyone. Everyone in all walks of life. Everyone is looking for younger and cheaper and long-term potentially better. The issue that I had with it was Sam Bradford knew the contract he was signing, and I thought it was a really good contract. I'm not sure Agent Tom Connon has done everything right in the situation, but the actual contract was great. But he knew it wasn't a 5-year deal, a 6-year deal, whatever. It was a 2-year deal. That, by its nature, says not long-term. So I don't quite understand how Bradford was surprised by anything. And I think it makes sense that this quote-unquote holdout ended so quickly.
Yeah, I don't think he had any doors to kind of open at this point. I think they were all shut in his face, and I think obviously him being back kind of indicated that. I guess the big question comes to, fans, especially here in the Philadelphia area, they're very blue-collar, who are saying, you signed, get out there and play. He doesn't want to compete. Does he not want to compete, or is it that he knows that the sand is going through the hourglass for him, that basically you draft a guy number 2, that there is no competition?
See, I don't agree with that. I don't agree that there's no competition. I mean, we've seen plenty of instances in the NFL where a quarterback gets drafted in the first round or highly somewhere, and the team keeps the guy in the field who is really good, who has them winning. I mean, it's how Kurt Warner ended up leading the Cardinals to the Super Bowl. It's how Brett Favre held off Aaron Rodgers for 3 years, 3 full years. If that was Bradford, he'd be on to another contract. Tom Brady's not getting any younger. Patriots drafted a quarterback in the second round a couple of years ago who hasn't really played yet, and who, well, now with the suspension he probably will, but before the suspension may not have ever played for the Patriots. I know with Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers, there was some form of this as well, where, the team could have made the decision either way there. I mean, if you are playing well and you're winning, no team is going to force feed any player in any situation and ruin the winning. If Sam Bradford starts, the Eagles are 8-2 coming down the stretch or whatever, then I don't think anyone's going to be saying, I can't wait till Carson Wentz plays.
And Rapoport with us, NFL Media Insider. You can follow him on Twitter at RapSheet. Don't forget, NFL Network's Top 100 Players of 2016 airs Wednesdays at 8 o'clock Eastern. That reveals the top players in the NFL as voted on by the players themselves. And Ian, you have a situation where, all right, he wanted to be traded, and he signed that contract, and then he wants to be traded, and then he changes his stance, and now he's got to go back. Do you think there's going to be problems in that locker room, or have you dealt with situations like this where, look, these guys all understand the business side of things, and that should not be an issue?
Yeah, I think it's a thing. I don't think it's, he's going to address it, I would imagine, probably just knowing the way he is, to the side, not like a big public thing. Bradford's holdout probably obviously ill-advised since he came back so quickly and gained nothing. Made a trade request when there was really only one option, and that for the Broncos, and the team wasn't really, really willing to trade for him, and the Eagles weren't really willing to deal him. So a lot went wrong in this. But what Sam Bradford didn't do was put his team in a bad position. He didn't. Headline-wise, I guess this was bad. Who cares? It's the spring. But he didn't really put his team in a bad position. It's not like he held out and it's, 3 weeks into August and we're wondering when is Sam Bradford going to show up. The team is the same. So I think it'll be slightly awkward and then probably fine. And, players can think whatever they want, but at least he didn't do anything to hurt the team's chances of winning.
Yeah, now, one interesting thing, we had Andrew Brandt on about a week ago, and he insinuated that the $22 million guaranteed that he got from the Eagles indicated to him that the Eagles felt there was a suitor for him somewhere out there. Would you go down that road as well? Would you think that he's right about that?
Yeah, back when the contract was done, I think, I could never, just myself, not speaking for anyone else, I could never identify a suitor who was willing to pay that kind of money to Bradford.
Right.
I'm sure it existed. I just could never find the team. Now the Eagles paid him a lot of money. They also did a smart deal where they can get out of it after a year with minimal damage. But they paid him a lot of money, sort of indicating that there was a market because this is like competitive starter money. $18 million for 1 year is competitive starter money. Now they paid a little more the first year to protect themselves that if they couldn't trade up and if he's great, then they don't have to give him a $100 million contract the next year. So they sort of protected themselves too. But, one thing about free agency, or actually even before free agency, is there's no way, Condon could have done everything to show the Eagles there was a suitor, but there's really no way for the Eagles to know for sure unless he becomes free, and they just never took that chance.
Right. I guess one question that there's really been a polarizing discussion here in this region and is, and they don't have to tell him. The Eagles don't have to tell him squat. But if his agent asked, hey, would you entertain moving up if someone of these teams called you and they said no, did he get misled into signing? In other words, would he have signed here if he was given some indication they were going to trade for a quarterback or take a quarterback that high?
First of all, I doubt, if that question was asked, I doubt the Eagles would say no. Because everybody knew they were in the quarterback market. Everybody. And as soon as they signed the deal, they immediately communicated to the rookies, the prospects, that this did nothing to change their evaluations or need to work out the quarterbacks. So a lot of people knew that they were very interested in the quarterbacks. Now, would it change things if they moved from, 13 to 8 to 1? To me, not really, because the Rams moved from 15 to 1 in a span of minutes. So, I doubt that question was asked. And I really also, I'm not sure that the Eagles need to tell him anything. Why do they need to clear their organizational and personnel moves with the quarterback who may be under contract for just one season?
Yeah. Oh, I don't think they don't owe it to him. They don't owe it to him at all.
I know. Oh, I know. I'm just saying, I can't imagine that Bradford and his people went into this saying we are only signing this deal if you don't take another quarterback. I imagine it was we're signing this deal because it's a lot of money and it's the best deal we think we can get at this time. And I thought it was a really good deal.
Ian Rapoport's with us. Of course, Bradford is back. We can confirm that. We've seen video of him. He's not just reports out there. He is on the field out there with his guys. But Fletcher Cox is not there, Ian, and not a lot of uproar about that. Not that there really should be, but any movement, any update on Cox's situation?
Yeah, the update is that there's no update and he's still away. And you're right. This definitely got lost in the shuffle on Bradford and everything the Eagles were doing this offseason. But, to me, this is a pretty big deal. This is certainly the best defensive player the Eagles have. maybe the best just player in general, probably actually, and he's holding out, and I don't know when he's going to return. I mean, I know that the Eagles and Fletcher Cox are working on a new contract. I know they both hope that it's going to get done, but obviously by him not being there, that's a stance and that's some pessimism there. I know he's incredibly important. I know his agent is very good. So, we'll see where that goes. But on a day Bradford returns, I think it's definitely worth noting that Fletcher Cox hasn't.
Yeah, you wonder if Bradford's situation isn't happening, is the Fletcher Cox situation getting more attention?
Probably, yeah. Yeah.
And Bradford's back today, as you tweeted out earlier at Rap Sheet. The Eagles are in phase 2 of the all-season conditioning. He has missed 2 of 10 weeks, about 28 hours of work. The voluntary camp starts on the 17th. That's a week from today, and Bradford is scheduled to speak on that day. He's a bit of a I can't imagine, Ann, that he's going to go trying to sling more mud. He probably just wants to put this behind him. His side is probably embarrassed enough. I can't imagine he says anything that would indicate one way or another why he did this. Do you?
I mean, he sort of said it in the statement by saying, like, the business side. I don't really know how this is the business side of things, honestly. The business side is really the contract. This was more of like, I'd like to play for another team. But, I mean, I imagine he'll say something like, I addressed it in my statement. I want to put it behind me.
Yeah.
But, it's hard to get your hands around what actually happened and why he decided to do this. Holdouts are tough. They're not for everyone. Showing up after 2 weeks is pretty clear. This is not for him, and he didn't have any other options. And this will sort of go down as a rough one, kind of like Maurice Jones-Drew back in the day. I mean, there's been a couple of these, but holding out is, clearly not for everyone. That's for sure.
All right, Ian Rapoport here. NFL Network's Top 100 Players of 2016 airs Wednesday at 8 o'clock, revealing the top players in the NFL as voted on by the players themselves. Follow him on Twitter at Rap Sheet and Rapoport. Thanks a bunch.
All right, thanks, guys.